You ever read a news story and then see the same event reported somewhere else and it just feels totally different? Well, today we're going to dig into how just one single word can flip a routine government announcement into a major piece of international messaging. It's a pretty wild look at how information really works behind the scenes. So, it all kicks off with this mystery. Picture this. Two state-run news outlets publish stories that are almost word for word identical, and they're reporting on something happening in a different country. But here's the really weird part. They publish at almost the exact same second, way ahead of the big international news agencies. How on earth does that happen? To figure this out, we're going to zoom in on a strange little incident that happened in Thailand. What seemed like a totally straightforward local issue got some very unusual and incredibly fast attention from abroad. It's the perfect real-world example of this kind of media strategy in action. Okay, so first up, let's unpack what happened. On the surface, it just looks like a bizarre coincidence involving gas prices and some seriously speedy reporters. The setup here is completely normal. I mean, fuel prices went up in Thailand. Happens everywhere, right? It's a textbook domestic issue. And the Prime Minister did exactly what you'd expect. He announced some policy tweaks to deal with it. This is just government 101, standard procedure. You'd think a story like this would pretty much stay local. Yeah, but that is not what happened. Not even close. What came next was anything but normal, and this is where the story takes a really sharp turn into something way more interesting. Okay, just look at this timeline. The Thai Prime Minister makes his announcement, and then within a single hour, just 60 minutes, two Chinese state media outlets have their stories published. And get this, their stories are nearly identical, and they're out before the big international newswires like Reuters or the AP even have a story up. They beat everyone, and they did it in perfect lockstep. This brings us to the real heart of the matter, because it wasn't just that they reported it so fast, it was how they reported it. And believe it or not, this whole thing really hinges on the power of a single word. This was the phrase, right there in both reports. The Thai PM apologizes. Just stop and think about that word for a second. He doesn't announce or respond or address the issue. He apologizes. That one little word completely reframes the entire situation. And here's the impact. What was in reality a simple governance adjustment, a proactive move, was instantly spun into a reactive admission. It implies fault, it suggests weakness, like the government is on its heels, being forced to say sorry for a crisis. The story being told is fundamentally different from the event that actually took place. You know, there's actually a name for this. It's called coordinated narrative amplification. It's what happens when you see different sources push the exact same angle, using the exact same language, all at once. The goal is to hammer home one specific impression, to make it stick before anyone else can offer a different take. And when a major power does it, you can bet it's about a lot more than just semantics. Which leads us right here. This isn't just about clever PR. This is geopolitics. The unspoken message, the subtext, is loud and clear. China is paying attention. By blasting this narrative out so quickly and in such a coordinated way, these outlets essentially seized control of the story. Before Thailand could even fully explain its own policy to its own citizens, an outside narrative was already being set in stone for the rest of the world. So what's the impression this leaves? Well, it's two things, really. First, it sends a message that China is monitoring Thailand's internal stability very, very closely. And second, it takes a boring domestic issue, fuel prices, and instantly elevates it, giving it this new international importance. It's a quiet but really effective way to project influence. So, a situation like this obviously leaves us with some pretty big questions. Being a smart media consumer isn't just about spotting these things. It's about knowing what to ask next. So, first things first, where did that word apologizes come from? Is it possible that the Thai government's own press release used that exact word and these Chinese outlets were just the first ones to pick it up? That's one theory. Or, and here's the other side of the coin, did editors in Beijing make a conscious choice to take this minor domestic policy change in Thailand and spin it this way? Did they decide this was a moment worth highlighting with this particular negative framing? And then you have to ask the biggest question of all, why? Why this story? Why now? What was actually in those policy adjustments? You have to wonder, did they have anything at all to do with Chinese interest in Thailand? Things like infrastructure projects or major energy deals? That could be the missing piece of the puzzle right there.
Honestly, this whole incident is a fantastic crash course in media literacy. So, for our last section here, let's turn this whole thing into a practical toolkit that you can actually use.
It really boils down to a super simple 3-step check. First, always notice the timing and the source. Who's reporting it? How fast are they? And are you seeing the exact same framing from multiple places at once? Second, zoom in on the word choice. Ask yourself how one key verb or adjective is changing the flavor of the story. And third, always ask what the real story is. Look past the facts and try to see the narrative that's being built. So next time you see a story breaking fast, just remember this. The most important question isn't just about what you're reading, it's about who is so eager for you to read their version of the story first.